What's going on, people? It's your boy Clutch Chaos and welcome back to another Clutch Reacts. Today we are reacting to the homie Maximilian Dood. He sat down in Evo with the Digital Eclipse team to talk about Mortal Kombat Legacy Collections. Alright, if you guys tune into his stream, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Thank God he dropped a separate video strictly just for the Mortal Kombat Collection stuff, because I did not want to go into the stream and look separately to find the stuff. I'm happy that he did that. Shout out to the team, all the good stuff. Guys, this is not a substitute. If you guys want to watch Maximilian Dood's videos, click the link in the description down below to go to his video. Show him some love first, then come back and watch me react to the beauty. You feel me? Because Maximilian Dood, he is a fighting game guru. This guy is the OG of OGs, the GOAT of GOATs. This guy is the Maximilian Doods of the world type mandem. Show him love first, come back, show me some love. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. I appreciate everybody that's tuning in. Appreciate the subscribers, all that good stuff. Frida, guys! And I am interested to see what they talk about, man. Maximilian, he asks good questions. He asks great questions. And, yeah. They're gonna also show some gameplay stuff. So, listen. Unfortunately, Mortal Kombat is a rated M for mature. If they do some fatalities, we gotta blur it out. Gotta show my face. That's just how it is. I'm sorry. Just how it is, bro. But, guys, I'm gonna be quiet. I'm trying to watch a video. Be quiet, guys. Frida, guys. All right. Let's go. Transition.
All right, chat. We're gonna get our feed switched over.
Yo, this game, the gameplay looks insane.
We have it set up over here, and big shout out to WB, to Mortal Kombat, and to Digital Eclipse Atari. You guys are out here. Please introduce yourself. I know who you are, but if you can tell everybody.
Please, please. I would like to know.
My name is Stephen Frost. I
know
am
who you
head
are.
of production at Digital Eclipse, which, as I've said numerous times, is sort of a fancier way of just stating that I have my fingers in pretty much everything.
Hey, yo, chill. That's crazy. I remember that.
Just trying to make sure that our studio generates just great products that fans love and enjoy.
Quick introductions over here.
Steven Johnson, Subtle, used to run NorCal Strong Style.
We have three Steves. Once our show's up, we have three Steves.
That's a problem. And here's the third Steve.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, chat. What you're looking at is the build of MK Trilogy, which is what is exclusively kind of like playable at Evo this year.
That's correct. Yeah.
So everyone on the show floor has been checking and trying it out. And most of the games that are on here, we got to talk about what's on here. It's pretty much MK1, MK2, MK3, UMK3, and MK Trilogy, and a lot of variations in between, right?
Right, and MK4.
MK4, sorry.
And yes, as many of the home versions as we could try to pack in here, and then also even a few of the obscure platforms like 32X and Game Gear, which is obviously the platforms that most people didn't necessarily grow up playing, but we want to try to include as many as we can, because depending on where you were and where you grew up, you may have that nostalgic attachment to one version or the other. And it's funny because some people say, like, why are you including the Game Boy version of Mortal Kombat?
That's cool.
And it's like, for a lot of people personally that I know, the Game Boy version of Mortal Kombat, that's what they grew up playing. That's all they had. Exactly. So that's what they have the connection to.
Exactly.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Thing is that like the little games in between on like Game Gear and all this kind of stuff that you
look at Baraka ugly ass.
All are a part of a legacy. They're all part of like a collection. That the whole point is to keep this stuff playable, because not everyone's going to have Game Gears or even like Game Gear emulation officially supported on Nintendo hardware or otherwise. Like that stuff is kind of hard to come across, and now we actually have it. So I got questions about Trilogy.
Here we go.
There's a lot of different versions of MK Trilogy, which I'm sure you guys have gone through like development and heard about.
Oh, Max about to ask them big questions. I'm ready.
Where did you end up like landing and focusing on?
So we always try to find a balance of obviously the ideal version of a game that fans would want, also the version that the most people have played, right? Because that will appeal to the broader demographic. And then from a development perspective, is there a platform, especially if it's new, that we can develop within the confines of the project scope and things like that? So on this, after evaluating it, PlayStation 1 made sense. This is the first time that, as a studio, we've worked to try to release a PlayStation 1 emulation so far.
Which doesn't happen like that often in this space, like where you get collections of games that are PS1 games. Like,
that's right.
Even in other fighting game space, there's a reason they stop at the 2D games.
Yes, it's very difficult.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Once you get to 3D titles.
I didn't know that at all.
So we use the PlayStation 1 as a base, and obviously, being fans of MK and listening to the community and working with the community, we're certainly aware of some of the issues that were prevalent in the
Shang Tsung related issues, yeah.
Exactly. So we investigated that, we looked into that, and we're like, okay, if we're starting as the PlayStation 1 version as a base, how do we make adjustments to this to make it hopefully the de facto ultimate version that people will play? And so the first thing, obviously right off the bat, is the load times. I know your audience has already commented and seen some of the load time stuff in here. But we've pretty much eliminated the load times. It's almost instantaneous. That carries across the whole product, including the broadest thing, which is Shang Tsung's morphs.
Yeah.
For those who didn't play it, there was a couple of settings in the options where you could limit the morphs that Shang Tsung could do to try to keep it in memory so it's fast. Exactly. Or you could enable all, but there's like a 6-second load almost, right, between each morph. So
The Saturn version and PlayStation version were special.
exactly. They're exclusive features.
Oh,
of that.
okay, so it was also for the Sega Saturn.
We knew that that's just very disruptive to
I didn't know that.
gameplay. It's annoying, and in today's modern development environment and modern hardware, there's no reason we need that. We're not accessing a disk anymore.
Yeah.
So we eliminated that. So Shang Tsung's morphs now are instantaneous, and they actually act like you would imagine they would be from back then. And that carries, of course, across the whole game. So even when you're loading into the game, such as you go from the towers into the gameplay itself, that load, you only see the loading text for like a split second.
Pretty much.
And then you go in there. So yeah, you can see that here. That's the biggest sort of improvement.
Look at
But
the
then we started
gameplay in the
investing a few
background,
other
man.
things,
It looks
like what
so
are the
dope.
issues, the other issues that are maybe minor, but we can try to address.
It's been so long since
One
I've
of them
seen this.
is, and this is something that most people probably wouldn't remember or notice, is that on the character select screen, it's very sluggish in the original game across
I remember
all the
that.
versions of Saturn, and it's mainly because it's loading the sprites and the animations. during
Yeah,
that
as
time.
they're popping
Right,
in.
and so it's like you'll skip and you'll miss characters. So there's no reason for that either. So now we've sped up that sequence, and it's much
Oh,
smoother.
that's dope. I never
Ironically,
remember that.
The way this game is put together, even the way that the 3 screens, which is the main menu, the 2v2, and then I think it's the 8 character
Yeah,
or 9
the
character
full
one.
squad.
The speed and the way that it loads is different between all 3 of them.
no.
So we fixed one, and it was like too fast for the other ones. And so we had to balance it out a little bit and fix that. So now the character select reacts and performs like you would imagine it should.
This is the stuff that like people don't realize when you're bringing back an old game, and it's not just about the raw gameplay itself. Like games in a fighting game space, we think of it from an FGC perspective.
Right.
The combat is the most important thing, but there's a package here. There's like features and all this other stuff and functionality.
That's
that people have
facts.
an expectation with these games to work that way. Mysterious
Oh, look at the
functionality across
roster,
the board.
man.
Just like, we don't know
This
exactly
gets me so
why
hyped.
This works the way it does, but like that's cool. That's cool that you guys are aware of that, and you know, obviously, it's going to be a component of this. We can talk about, because we're watching MK Trilogy from the Atari front, and how you guys were approaching this game from like the publishing side. How is that relationship to like get all of these games intact? Because Atari obviously as like a publisher, we've seen a few things over the past few years. The Atari collection was cool. There was a lot of games included. The decision-making process, how was that working with Digital Eclipse and like WB to make all this stuff kind of happen?
Max is trying to explain that, you know, fighting games are just so much more like compacted than just like the actual fighting, right? Like a casual fighting game player, someone like me, we just care if the game's fun to play, right? We care how the fighting and how the combat is. But there's so much more that's added into this, right? Movement, loading times, frame drops, all these things that people essentially like focus more on, that a casual player would be like, what the hell is the big deal about this? All of that matters. All of that plays into a factor. So I really enjoy this. I really am enjoying this so far. Talk to me.
You know, working with Digital Eclipse has been awesome. I mean, when I joined, they had already started working on Atari 50, and it was very clear from the beginning for me that in so many ways, Digital Eclipse is kind of represents the essence of what this era of Atari wants to do and be, like bring back games, make them accessible.
Modern retro sort of stuff, yeah.
And you know, be kind of innovative in that way, and I think that's something that Digital Eclipse does. I think the other kind of interesting superpower that I've
Look at the
seen from
combo,
CEO
man.
recently has been the ability to kind of unblock some of the like licensing nightmares
Sure.
or like partner nightmares.
Because that has been one of the things that fans and people like me have been theorizing, like why has it taken like 15 years to get these back in a collection, and what's been the hurdle in between?
And a lot of it is just kind of pounding the pavement, to be honest.
Yeah.
And like there will be other stuff coming in the future where there are collections that and things that Atari published even in the past, and we kind of own the publishing rights. So we do own the publishing rights too.
Sure.
But like, it's complicated.
Yeah.
And so I think when we had a really awesome meeting where we all came up to Digital Eclipse and we were talking about the future of what games you guys wanted to do, and this is something that we really wanted to do. And I think that our CEO Wade is very focused on like clearing the path to make the best stuff we can make, and whatever he has to do to bring that to the table.
Because that aspect of a lot of the modern, I would say the last like few years of Digital Eclipse collections and titles is like these games that have like a legacy and history, and like bringing that history as a feature to the game. You know, instead of just the legacy is the games that are playable, have fun.
Yeah.
You know, no, it's more like, hey, here's all like the documentation, here's how things happened, here's the literal process that went into the 90s that made all the developers come to the conclusions they did.
So they're basically talking about like how complicated it is to like come up with a collection, and how it's not just as simple as like taking a whole bunch of games from that franchise, from that sister franchise, and putting it into one thing. Like there's more that goes into it, right? Like you want the documentation, you want the artwork, you want, like, you know, a hardcore fan or someone that really just enjoys not just the fighting game, but not just the game, but the franchise itself. I definitely appreciate the artwork. I definitely appreciate, you know, getting to sit down and watch Ed Boon, you know, look at some of these interviews, talk about how we just did a reaction to the last interview that he did, where he talked about how Scorpion Spear move was kind of like just the out of nowhere thought. It was just like a, hey, why don't we do this? It wasn't something that was predetermined from the beginning. So that's dope. And you know, usually when it comes to gaming collections, some collections are just strictly like, hey, here's the game, here's all the games. But then you have other collections where it's like, hey, yo, and here's not just the games, but here's like the foundation, right? Here's the artwork. Here's us people that were part of that era coming up with ideas. Here's how you get to see how things were made. So I really love that. Good question, Max. Continue, por favor.
That whole massive group of people who casually played Mortal Kombat in the early years.
That's why Trilogy's special.
Yes,
yeah.
and stepped away, right? And we're maybe overwhelmed by the sheer number of secrets and mystique of the products, but now can get a peek behind the curtain and learn everything there is about it. And it's an interesting story. It's about 4 guys in their 20s wanting to make a cool, you know, game based off of their
super
action heroes,
these kids,
right?
literally, yeah.
Exactly. And so it's an interesting story, and it's a friendship. A lot of our stories about these bonds and friendships that develop during these times, and it's just interesting thing to go through, and then being able to also have that interactive component of being able to load up a game after you have read about it is a compelling piece, right?
And that story is already kind of being told with this collection, because it's kind of like the first time in a really official capacity that like Boon Tobias is kind of back, like, and their relationship, which was like maybe a bit complicated back in the 20-something years ago, but now it's a point where like we're looking back at the stuff that they put together and you guys are sort of telling that story now.
It is amazing, and I will tell you.
And that's incredible, right? Like we're 30 years into Mortal Kombat. There was a falling out between Ed Boon and John Tobias. I don't know exactly when, but there was a time where John Tobias stepped away. And to now see that this collection's coming back, to see that John Tobias and Ed Boon are part of it, they're involved, and the Mortal Kombat team is involved, and now these guys in Digital Eclipse get to tell the story of that. I love the fighting games. I love fighting games, but I love the stories of it, right? Like, I'm starting to get used to that with Tekken, right? Like, Tekken to me was just a fun fighting game, but now I get to understand the story. I get to understand and look at the developing team, because I didn't know nothing. I didn't know nothing about Harada and that team at all. And like, you know, the more time you spend with the game, the more time you want to know, and the more time you want to research it. And with Mortal Kombat, it's the same thing. Like, this collection gets to open the doors to people that probably didn't know much about the creative spaces of this game and how it came to be. So it's really dope. This is fine. This is fire, man.
I'll tell you honestly, when we went to NetherRealm to film interviews, and I was talking to Ed, and then Tobias walked into the studio, and it was like this surreal moment for me, as you can imagine.
John's here!
They still stay in contact. They're good friends. But for me personally, as a fan growing up playing Mortal Kombat, to see them come together, and then Vogel and Gordon and those guys.
Oh my God, the 4 horsemen
about it.
The 4
goats.
Perfect
time, because as everyone's aware, Mortal Kombat 1 was, you know, sunsetting a bit and waning out, and it became a perfect opportunity for this team to pause and reflect back on the history of this product.
Yeah, I feel like the timing of all of this was like very aptly put, because like MK1 was in a little bit of its sunsetting.
Right.
And like you said, it's like, man, what could you use right now? We could really use the collection. Like I remember specifically saying this on like a podcast where it's like, this is one of those games that deserves it, needs it, and we have to get it. The one thing I was going to talk to about, emulation-wise, you're doing MK4. So this is like one of the first like big like 3D, almost
3D,
almost PS1-ish era.
3D.
This is a PS1 game, I get you, but it's like it's a 2D game, right? And there's a lot more complications that come with a 3D game. You get to the Dreamcast and it's exponentially more complicated.
Right.
So even doing the MK4 version that you guys are doing, even though we're not showing it, that's sort of based on the arcade version, right?
It is the arcade version fundamentally. So the issue with that is it is very, as I've said before, very obtuse hardware. There's very little documentation about it.
Yeah.
No one has really successfully been able to emulate it properly yet. And so it's a lot of trial and error. And there's a lot of things that we have to deal with that people don't think about, where, you know, it was 3DFX based hardware back in the day.
Yeah.
The way that it handled textures and how it displayed things was very specific. And nowadays, you know, we have different platforms, and the way that they display even sprites, textures, filters is very different individually from each other. So it's this fine balance of trying to replicate as close as we can, not just broadly, but on each platform, what the original game kind of played and looked like.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, and you know, like I said, the Switch 2 display things differently, the PlayStation 4 displays things differently. So it's this fine juggling match of like, okay, how close can we get to the actual representation of what the original was? And we have some great folks working on this at our office, and it has been one of the largest tasks for sure in relation to this product.
Well, I'd imagine, because it's like you have to just get tons of people that knew the previous games. How does the game feel? Does anything feel weird? Does anything feel off? Because obviously when you're working in an emulation space, it's getting as close as possible to that like original feel.
We had to buy a board, right? And we had to, so it's like just a challenge of like, okay, who has a board that we can buy and
That's
get out?
funny.
I was about to say, because like realistically, the trouble here isn't necessarily like emulating MK4. There's emulators out there, but they aren't doing it right. And so it's like being able to dig into what the hardware was, but then NetherRealm was really gracious, gave us source code to actually help us diagnose all of it.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy that that one American company outside of all the Japanese companies, which just got rid of source code from almost everything in the 90s, actually still has that.
And like
That's
how we're able
dope.
to place-
I had no idea what
this
the
is
hell the
really
source
the
code
unique
was,
part
but
about
that's
what
fire.
it is.
Of the old Atari games, where we were highlighting like Jaguar stuff,
Right.
and it was like an immediate nostalgic moment of an old Jaguar ad. Where like graphics so good it'll make you blow chugs.
Oh, right.
I was like, what is this? Made us all like audibly laugh out loud. That was like something special to me that I forgot about. Was there something that, without spoiling things too crazy, that is like in this collection that is sort of like in there or being revealed? Is there something that kind of made you guys go, whoa, we have that, or that is there, and you know, it's finally a thing?
I think it's, for me, well, there's two parts. One is just the nostalgic hit that I got of going through and looking at the old arcade flyer and advertisements and the Mortal Monday stuff, right? Which was
People don't know what that is, and I'm like, yeah, we had Mortal Monday because it's just a legacy of it, yeah.
It is, but I think for me primarily it was some of the stuff that
Yeah, I had no idea what the hell
seen
Mortal
before,
Monday
such as
was,
John
to be
Tobias
fair.
giving us these sketches and stuff and these notebooks that he had, that he was writing down ideas, and it's just getting a peek into sort of the thought process and how things came together, even in relation to Mortal Kombat 1, right? And it's just very interesting, because broadly people understand the story, but on the nitty-gritty day-to-day component, it was interesting to see how little pieces kind of came together to form, you know, the thought, like, you know, of what this product is and the whole process of what a fatality came from and things like that. So it was cool.
By the way, the one time Kintaro is actually playable,
Oh, right.
is that unique to Trilogy, right?
Yes, very unique.
Like he's got a variation of Goro in MKX, but it was never Kintaro, so that's kind of the unique thing here, Chad.
Or jump
The bosses in this game are kind of insane.
Yeah, they're OP.
Yeah, the boss fights are gonna be so
fighting
annoying.
game side and stuff like that, and netcode solutions. Obviously, like you guys are using a rollback netcode solution for the game in some way.
Oh yes, let's talk
How
about that
has
rollback.
Have you guys been like focusing on online with input delay? What is the big focus when using rollback with the game?
Yeah, we're basically rolling a typical GGP audio solution. So this should be pretty standard. If you're playing this on 5K, we're trying to do something similar, but we're taking on a lot more elements. We're trying to do this kind of broadly across a bunch of different games as opposed to individual setups, which offers some opportunities and also some sacrifices in some places, but we're making it feel really good kind of throughout, and really it's trying to like these games that have never really been playable before. Exactly. That's where we're really working towards
in an official capacity in this way. So which titles specifically actually support like the rollback solution?
We're going to try to include, and we're still finalizing it, but we're going to try to include as many, obviously arcade games, but as many of the arcade games and console games as possible. The handheld games we aren't doing.
So they're not doing handheld rollback netcodes. So like Mortal Kombat Tournament for the Game Boy Advance, probably all the other handhelds. So no rollback netcode for those games. Okay, I mean that makes sense. I can only imagine how difficult that would be, but that would have been pretty kind of crazy. Like, yo, let's play Game Boy Advance online, because that was a lot of people's, like, I don't want to say their gripes, and it wasn't mine necessarily, but I did watch people's reaction, and when they brought up rollback netcode and they brought up the Game Boy stuff, people were like, why did they include these Game Boy games? Like, nobody's gonna play this shit online. Those handheld games are not going to be rollback netcode. They're not gonna be online. So that's just nostalgia for the player to experience for themselves. That's fire. That's dope. So they're only focusing on the console and arcade versions of the games. Got it.
People start talking about like, why don't they just bring PSP games out? I'm like, dude, those games versus mode was ad hoc. Like,
it's very difficult. The sort of the requirements for a link cable is very low latency and little pieces of data very often. And if it doesn't come consistently, the game freaks out and doesn't know what to do, right? And that's fine in a wired cable situation, but in an internet situation, there's just so much room. It's
not designed for anything but that.
It's not designed for that. So it's very, very problematic. So for broadly from an online perspective, we investigated, but sorry folks, no handheld online, but we are gonna try to add online to as many of the console and arcade
Which is fair, which is fair.
That makes sense.
I don't think anybody was banking on playing Game Boy Advance online.
If we're talking about like the console versions, obviously like MK1, MK2, MK3, and UMK3? Yep. Is that the goal right now? Okay. I thought
everything.
I was thinking just skip MK3 because it's kind of like the weird.
No, I mean,
it's people grew up with these things, and really, and again, Steve can speak to the FGC, and I understand there's hardcore fighting game fans who want to be able to play these games online, but from where I come from, it's more of a nostalgic play as far as a lot of people grew up playing these games in the living rooms with their family members or brothers or friends.
Sure.
And there is this really emotional attachment to that. I was really heartwarmed by this woman who I talked to, interviewed some time ago, where fond memories of playing Mortal Kombat with her brother, and her brother passed away. So when we announced this and she was talking to me, she just broke down into tears basically because there's such an emotional attachment to that. And now, being able to add online to
that
this,
was sick.
Even if you're separated by
that was
distance,
so sick.
Being able to rekindle and relive that nostalgic moment was important to me, and that's part of the reason why we wanted to do this.
Yeah, it's a good point, because it's the same thing for these old collections. Why, for even a variety of other publishers and games, why we advocate for this to exist. The whole point isn't that we have access to them, like we've been playing them, like we've been going back to them. The point is that we want other people to sort of experience the things that we did back in the day, much less now, to be able to have that, because
Max hit it on the nose right there, yo. Like, I don't have access to these older games like Max and they do. For this collection to be coming out, it's such a dope moment, because ironically, I was trying to collect the Mortal Kombat games so I can then give you guys content. And now that this collection's coming out, I'm still gonna buy those separate games and I'm gonna buy those consoles so I can say I have them. But now I have this collection where, like, okay, if I can't find these consoles or if I can't afford the game right now, I have the collection to go to where I can just simply just play it and showcase you guys all the stuff. And that's the dope part about it, is that at the end of the day, these collections, people might probably get annoyed and be like, oh, why, like, you gonna put the game out and then you're gonna put all the games out again? It's like, well, you gotta understand, like, people didn't grow up with these old games, right? There are kids that, when they grow up, they're gonna look at Mortal Kombat 9, Mortal Kombat X, Mortal Kombat 11, Mortal Kombat 1. They're gonna look at those games like, yo, those are those are the 90s games, right? They're gonna look at those games. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years later, there's gonna be a collection where you can play MK9, X11, and 1 in one emulation thing. It's gonna happen. It's gonna cater to those young fans that grew up playing those games. So it works the same way here, and that's the point, you know. Some people like Max or other people that may have access to these games all the time or whenever they feel like it. But for someone like me, I don't have access to these games. So this collection is perfect because now it gives me that access to go back and not only experience the games I've already experienced, but to experience the games I didn't get to experience, right? Like, I really didn't get to experience the original Mortal Kombat 3 because obviously UMK3 came out, MK Trilogy came out. I didn't get to experience the handheld Mortal Kombat games. The only one I experienced was Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition. This is dope for me to go back, for me to do research, for me to look into it and be like, yo, this is what people were playing back then, and they were having fun with this. This is awesome. Max, you hit it on the nose for the guys.
The point is that we want other people to sort of experience the things that we did back in the day, much less now, and to be able to have that, because those resources just aren't available to everyone. Like people are just gonna have Dreamcasts and PlayStations hooked up.
Not everybody got a Dreamcast just sit in their bedroom.
We did some player testing, and like it was pretty amazing just to play like the SNES version of MK1 online. It just feels like that was supposed to exist already. Like it just worked and everything felt great.
Expand or game back.
And I think it's also like a big part of like, there's a lot of these games that just people haven't had the experience, and we don't know. We're not trying to play judge about what game is competitive or what like people are going to be into.
Oh yeah.
I started playing Mortal Kombat 2 on Game Boy, and I am like amazed at how great this game actually is for its time. It feels like a really authentic.
I didn't even know Mortal Kombat 2 was for the Game Boy.
On the Game Boy. And it's just like these hidden jewels just aren't being seen by anybody. We can put Mortal Kombat 3 out, and who knows, maybe we find something that really makes Mortal Kombat a really strong competitive game, and we don't want to be like in the way of that.
That's the fascinating thing, is that some of these games had such a small lifespan back when they first existed, like the vanilla versions of some games. MK3 is like the most definitive one because of the lack of Scorpion and the negative press that got back in the day.
That's insane.
But they alleviated that within like less than 6 months. And next thing you know, UMK3 was just the dominant game. What was even MK3 at all? Right. And it's like, but that's interesting. Like it's not that we're just looking for the things that are, like you said, competitive standards. Yeah. It's the fact that the game's probably relatively undiscovered in what you can really do in it.
And I think that speaks again to the context component, right? Of like how Digital Eclipse presents these collections often. Gives context to all that stuff. Yes. So it helps tell that story. You might not know that or remember that and be able to go back and realize that was the narrative.
And that's another interesting point. Like, you know, some of these games back then, people didn't get to experience it, not because they probably didn't have access to it, but by the time they got into it, there was another title that was already the dominant factor, right? I just said it, Mortal Kombat 3, perfect example. I never got to experience Mortal Kombat 3. The main reason was because I think when I did play it, I realized that Scorpion wasn't in it, and Scorpion's my favorite character, and for these older games, Scorpion was my go-to, because I knew how to do the spear move. I knew that the spear move was a free move for me to get a free hit. So when I saw that he wasn't in the game, I was like, whoa, what the hell is this? You know, I was little, I was young, asking like, where the hell was Scorpion? And by that time, UMK3 was out there, MK Trilogy was out there, My Battery's About to Die, Transition. I only played MK3, if I really like can sit here and remembered, I probably only played like a few times out of my hand, like that I can count, maybe 5 encounters. But the majority of the time was UMK3. The major time was MK Trilogy. MK Trilogy was the game I was playing all the time when I was young. Then it was MK4. Then it was the PS2 era gaming. So like, I didn't even get to experience the Mortal Kombat 2 days. Like, I probably only played a couple times like with my family, with my mom. As far as like going to the arcades to play Mortal Kombat, when you went to the arcades, it was just UMK3, it was Mortal Kombat 2, and it was Mortal Kombat 4. Like, that was what I experienced. So I didn't get to experience the vanilla version of MK3. And being that it was such a short span, it was, like you said, it was like 6 months. Then they came out with the better versions. Now that the collection's gonna have that, people get to sit there and really study the game now. Like, oh, what was wrong with it in the first place? Let's figure it out.
And Trilogy is an interesting one, and you mentioned like the casual audience, and yeah, UMK3 is effectively where the old school Mortal Kombat competitive community like resounded.
Right.
The PS2 era was pretty unique, but it's also like people kind of went back to that one, and that game is where they found like their community.
Go back.
Trilogy is different because there was no arcade scene, right? This one was specifically like kind of like a
At
jumbled
the
together
crib.
bunch of assets. This is
It's a party game. Like I call it a party game.
This is the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 of this collection.
Right.
So that's the game
Facts.
where the majority of casual fans, when they say what's the best old MK,
my God.
they don't say 2, they don't say UMK3, which are where the competitive community goes. They all say Trilogy because it had the most stuff. It just had the most things.
I mean, you're looking at Kano. He had
And the MK1 sprite.
MK1 sprite, but he never had a run. So
And he's really quickly walking.
Fast.
It is. It's very funny, and
That's
I
hilarious.
think also part of our juggling, and you were talking about the casual audience. Part of our work that goes into appealing to that is there is this whole thing where, and I talked about this earlier, where casual fans liked and enjoyed Mortal Kombat, but oftentimes after a while, it may be just they left because there was too many secrets or things to worry about or codes to remember.
That's a good point.
Things like that. And so we spent a lot
That's
of time
another-
in this
that's true.
collection. And I call it like no more secrets, right?
Yeah.
It's the peek behind the curtain, so that every major menu, secret, hidden character, everything is accessible, and you can go in. I don't want people to have to look up on the internet, how do I fight against Reptile in Mortal Kombat 1?
How does that even work?
Right?
How do I unlock human smoke?
Exactly. So you can go in and you can learn how to do it and do it yourself, obviously the original way, or you can go into the options for Mortal Kombat 1, flip a switch, and then immediately jump in and fight Reptile. And so we do that for everything, so that
That's
by
dope.
the time you get done, hopefully with this collection and playing
And we
every
talked
game,
about that in the last
you really
video.
fundamentally feel confident that you've seen everything that these games have.
Full breadth of the roster, full
Exactly.
breadth of like the secrets.
He told me that at Summer Game Fest, and like that was awesome because like, yeah, a lot of those are tough, and I'm pretty sure you'll have like the Noob Saibot one, and that
That's
one
the
was like,
crazy
one.
that
Yeah,
was
that's
like 250.
Yeah, bro, like some of these fights, some of these secret fights are ridiculous. Like the Reptile one's a little bit, it's challenging, but it's doable. To fight Noob Saibot in Mortal Kombat 2, you had to win 50 games in a row, right? If you're somebody that's at home that has 2 controllers, you can bullshit your way to that. But in the arcade scene back then where the internet wasn't accessible, where you didn't really know, imagine somebody in an arcade scene winning 50 games in a row and suddenly unlocking a fight with Noob Saibot. That must have been one of the most surreal moments ever. People like us enjoy it, right? People like Mortal Kombat fans, we love the challenge, we love the thrill. But I love that they're also being like, hey, if you don't want to sit there and spend hours trying to get it, just go to the options and unlock it right there, and then you can fight. They're not going to change the difficulty of how hard the fight is. The fights are pretty freaking difficult because these characters are OD.
Games continuously, and then you get to fight with Saibot and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
you have to
like,
do some crazy
having that,
stuff.
Like for me, I'm an MK2 like super master, and like
Right.
I still have trouble fighting Smoke.
Right.
Because it's hard to get him to do Toasty at the right time, or even Reptile. That was
Yep, you gotta do the
incredibly
Toasty.
difficult because the AI was.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
reading your inputs like crazy. So trying to get double flawless on that was tough. So I could just go start, fight Reptile, and you go in the bottom.
Yeah, and that's what some
That's
people,
dope.
their personality traits are
I
like,
can't
yeah,
wait till
will
this. I
accomplish
can't wait
that.
till this collection comes
You
out.
know,
I can't wait.
Others are like,
In my opinion, once you hit that 10 to 15 year mark of like, you know, a game that has this many secrets, it's like, bro, okay, so let's give us access to it now. It's one of
Just
those
tell-
things of the
just
old,
tell us already,
arcade
man.
games of Midway, where so many of those arcade experience, those console games, everything was just jam-packed full of codes
Crazy
or
code.
secrets or hidden characters or anything like that.
Not that, I mean, Mortal Kombat started it. Like
It
you
really
know,
did.
With you know a Reptile on the bottom of the pit, and like only certain people saw it. It was cool to be able to go to the arcade and have somebody tell you like, oh, did you know that this character's on the bottom?
Make
you
up
see
a
some
story about
shadows,
it.
Like,
Yeah.
this is
Before
how
internet.
you know.
That's how I made a lot of my friends in high school. We just talked about all the secrets.
stuff.
I really wish that I was a little bit older during this time period to go to the arcades and experience these things, man, because that must have been some of the dopest feelings ever to like go to school the next day and tell the homies like, yo, we saw Reptile. Did you see the gray ninja? Like that must have been so lit. And for someone like me, bro, I've never got to experience these secret fights. Even to this day, like I've never experienced it. So I'm happy that they're gonna give us the option to have easy access to these secret fights, because you better believe when this collection comes out, we are gonna do all the secret fights. And we're gonna see if we can win these fights. We're really gonna see if we can really go crazy. I'm getting hyped more and more every time I'm hearing people talk about this shit.
The interesting part for the documentary for me is that we started talking to Ed and John, and they were like, they knew all this stuff was going on. People were like saying, oh, if you do this with this character, Sub-Zero turns into a bear or something like that.
So crazy.
And they heard about it, and they're like, well, I made the game.
Yeah, and then they made something like
then let me go ahead in Mortal Kombat 3, let me make Sub-Zero turn into a polar bear and eat you as part of it, just as like a goof. And that's the thing that I think is really interesting about our documentary, is that all the things, the rumors that you've heard, they have heard all of them.
Right.
And they were playing off of this to
They knew exactly what they was doing.
Wasn't that the point, to like get people into thinking that there's stuff?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, that was the point.
Like to think about it like this, right? A character like Rain was marketed in the Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 trailer. When Ultimate MK3 was debuting and they were coming out and they were promoting that game, Rain was in the trailer. And he was never playable for the Ultimate MK3. They literally put him in there just to troll. Just to get people to talk about what they just saw. Yo, we just saw a purple ninja, but we cannot find him in the game. He was never in the game. That's crazy. The only time Rain was playable in this setting of these old school games was Trilogy. But they showed him and they debuted him in Ultimate MK3 as a trailer shot. Like, that's literally what they, like, the secrecy. Mortal Kombat has so much secrets, and that's why people today, like, they don't know about that, bro. They don't know about it. And I'm so happy that in MK1 they really went crazy with the Floyd fight to make it that secretive. Now, of course, you have the data miners, you have people that were helping the community banded together to help with all these secrets. But imagine in the 90s, that Floyd character fight, all those missions, it would have taken us years to get to that fight. Would have taken us months to activate the first appearance of Floyd. And that's why I think Mortal Kombat kind of struggles with the secrets today, because look at how quick it was to find Floyd. Like, it was still fun to find them. It was still fun to do those missions, and people banded together. But it took like 2 to 3 months for people to find Floyd. For Reptile, for Noob Saibot, that took months and years just to be able to fight him. It took like a month to fight Floyd. I see where people mean where it's like, oh, we want the secrets from Mortal Kombat, but it's like, how secretive can you get when you have data miners? When you have people that their people's jobs is to look through the game and to tell you what's in the game, to spoil it for you. And you know, no disrespect to them, but it's like, I don't want to be spoiled, bro. If there's a secret fight, tell me there's a secret fight. Don't tell me who don't tell me who the fuck we're fighting. Don't tell me how to access it. Don't tell me what to do to get him. Just tell me he's in the game and I'm gonna figure it out. You know, it's like the guy from Digital Eclipse says, you know, people don't have time for the secret shit, man. Just give us the easy access. Give us the accessibility of it. And that's why Mortal Kombat kind of died down from that secret shit, because as much as they want to keep a secret, people don't want the secrets to be out there. They want that shit to be exposed.
That to me is like the original story of MK. MK is a game that's known for its long-running story, but this game kind of began its story because of the stories that people were telling each other in arcades. Of like, it was creating a lore, like based on the fact that there was these weird things and secrets in there that eventually became what the modern MK series sort of becomes. And now, like, we actually get to see all that lore in a collection like this.
But I think you guys did a great job of bringing that back with Pink. Was it Pink?
Boy, Ed, yeah, he wanted to bring the secret back.
Yeah. So and that was a secret.
It was a nod
Floyd.
to the old stuff.
Exactly,
Yeah,
that was
and
amazing.
It was great because people discovered it. I mean, the internet makes things very different now. Somebody
Yes.
finds out and everybody knows about it, like not that long ago, but like the secrets are still there, and people were like, wait, what? How did you figure this out? And then people still had that conversations. It brought it back to that element of the surprise of figuring out, what do I have to do to get this? And to be honest, the world of trying to figure out what you have to do in order to get to Floyd was still there. Like, we had discussions on stream of figuring out, okay, you have to go through these steps and understand. And some people were just making stuff up, and you're like, okay, well.
It's crazy. I remember, Max, when you were trying to do Pink Floyd and going through that whole thing.
Yeah, it took like 3 hours. Yep.
It's crazy. It was funny when I was talking with Ed off camera, and because he generally likes to listen to particular music while he's developing the stuff, and obviously he has music where he's coming out, and we were just discussing that he's running out of combinations, of colors and everything, right?
What the heck, yeah.
Which is true. He's running out of ninja colors.
Yeah.
Quite actually, but it's been great to talk with those guys.
That's dope.
You know, just from a fanboy perspective, being able to chat with them and learn their thought process from development, because as a studio at Digital Eclipse, we believe that there's so much that can be learned from these early eras of games. You know, they informed the development of the industry that we have today. They informed the development of the genres and stuff that we have today. So being able to see how things were created and why they were created actually it helps us to become better game developers ourselves.
Trilogy is gonna be dope. I can't wait for the collection as a whole, bro. We now know that there's no handheld for online games. That's finito. The secret fights, everything is accessible. It's easy accessible now. They were talking a little bit about the CRT portions of it. I wasn't really familiar with that, so you probably didn't see that much of it. But the release date, still don't have a confirmation, but it's gonna come out probably before the actual physical copies do. So, yeah, this was a fire video, man. I just wanted to do a reaction to this because, like I said, Max, they be asking the right questions. The gameplay looked smooth as hell. We saw a showcase of the Shang Tsung morph that they talked about. That shit was smooth. The fighting, all of it was dope. And yeah, I'm excited for this, man. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Also, guys, remember, show love to the actual creator. Show love to Maximilian Dood. His link will be in the description down below to check out the full video. It's been your boy Clutch. Cue the music. I'm out of here. Free the guys.